About 7 years ago, I was a soccer dad, and I'd opened my big fat mouth about 8 o'clock at night, said I'd bring coffee for 8 o'clock soccer game, thinking full well my lovely wife would take care of it. Well, I got home, and she was team mom for other two kids at 8 o'clock also. So I'm like on my own. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, how am I going to get 8 or 10, 12 cups of coffee down at a soccer game? I'm not going to back out of it. I'm going to keep my word. How the hell am I going to do it?
More and more, people are choosing to become entrepreneurs rather than join the ranks of the corporate world. In fact, a recent poll showed that 56% of college seniors were more attracted to the concept of starting their own business than working for someone else. But not all entrepreneurs are young. Jerry Andrews, for example, was 52 and had a wife and a daughter and 2 sons to provide for when he launched Joe2Go.
We went out to dinner with some friends later that night, and he had conceptualized the idea at that point in time. We were kind of looking at him like, now, what are you talking about? And then when it finally came out that he was thinking about a disposable thermos, it really made sense.
Of course, as Jerry and his wife would tell you, it isn't enough just to have a good idea. Lots of people have good ideas. You also need to be self-directed, self-nurturing, action-oriented, highly energetic, and tolerant of uncertainty.
I like working for myself. I like being my own boss, the self-direction. I like fixing my own mistakes.
Starting your own business is full of all kinds of possible pitfalls and roadblocks. But the reality is that you have to have something that you believe in passionately and that you can see how this could happen. You have to be realistic also. You can't just have a pipe dream thing going on. It's got to be plausible.
Although there is some debate, conventional wisdom says that roughly half of all small businesses fail in the first 4 years. Inadequate planning, both financial and managerial, is the source of many problems. Even Joe2Go, which seemed a simple idea, required a great deal of forethought and perseverance in order to be brought to fruition.
Well, actually, I thought it was going to be really cheap. I thought it was going to be simple. I thought it was going to be something just out of the blue that nobody thought of that would work simply. Come to find out it didn't.
Sometimes the businesses that are the most difficult to start and keep going are the ones that reap the most financial success. This again illustrates the importance of the planning process, which includes writing a business plan and finding money to fund the enterprise. Also, contacting experts for advice or help early in the process can be an invaluable tool in building a strong business model.
Finding an industrial designer who could take his thought and create it into a product that we could actually have become viable.
If you become an entrepreneur, you'll probably find yourself seeking guidance from any number of experts, from engineers, accountants, lawyers, marketing researchers, loan officers, insurance agents, to the Small Business Administration. For Jerry, one of his main challenges was to find an inexpensive thermos-like disposable bag to keep the coffee warm.
It took a lot of research to find the proper bag. When you talk research, you talk money. Finding the bag was the big thing.
Unlike large corporations, entrepreneurs usually don't have the luxury of throwing money at problems. On the contrary, they have to be very careful in how they allocate costs. In Jerry's case, he used his limited financial resources to find a good engineer, as previously mentioned, and a good patent lawyer.
If it is a good idea, and it gets knocked off, and it will if it's a good one, you want somebody to stand behind you.
Once they had working prototypes, it was time to bring their product to market. Figuring out who would buy Joe2Go was easy. It would be millions of people like Jerry who sought convenience and, well, lots of coffee.
Where it works really good is obviously is baseball games, soccer games, football games.
The problem was finding the channels or retailers who would be willing to sell it to those customers. Luckily, when Jerry sought out a partner to help him finance Joe2Go, he got more than he bargained for. His investor happened to have a sales background and offered to help Jerry approach retailers.
So he started selling, and it started just very small. He'd go to coffee shows, and he'd go to 12 in the country.
The initial response from the coffee industry and the packaging industry was encouraging.
It was nominated as like the #1 product in so many different areas by different people, and it was getting some national recognition. It won some terrific awards.
There was just one problem.
Everybody loved it. Nobody bought it.
By all accounts, it seemed like Jerry's idea was a bust. They were 4 years into the business, and although they had sold to a lot of mom-and-pop retail outlets, they didn't have any national accounts.
It was a very hard sell. We'd sell 25 here, 50 there.
The business simply wasn't making enough money to survive. To make matters worse, he lost his business partner to cancer. Jerry was forced to cut into his savings to continue.
The rest of the funding I kept taking out of my IRA to live on, to do this, to do that.
Now, this might have discouraged a lesser person, might have caused him or her to give up. But that's not how Jerry is built, and it's one of the things that makes him a true entrepreneur. See, there's one thing we forgot to mention about Jerry. As a child in 1955, he contracted polio.
In a small town of Whitman, Massachusetts, 12 of us. My brother had it, he died. My dad had it. It's just one of those things I worked through. I had very good friends. I didn't have anybody calling me wimp or gimp.
Spending your entire life walking with crutches and leg braces will teach you a thing or two about patience, perseverance, and overcoming obstacles. Jerry started this venture because he made a promise to parents at a soccer game. Now, 4 years later, with his family's welfare on the line, he wasn't about to give up. And that's a good thing, because in the year 2000, his persistence paid off. Jerry got his first national account.
All of a sudden, Dunkin' Donuts came out of the middle of nowhere. Dunkin' understood how to market it.
They started by test marketing it in Boston and then moved slowly westward.
They have sold millions back there. Literally millions. I can tell by the numbers. Millions of them.
Once Dunkin' Donuts started to license his product, other national chains quickly moved in to pick it up as well.
I license it out. I get so much a box. Dunkin' Donuts calls it Box of Joe. Anybody can name it anything they want.
As Jerry likes to say, when it comes to Joe to go, nobody loses. He makes a percentage of each box that is sold. The customer can go to a ball game without spilling coffee all over the car. The retailer sells more coffee, and if they are lucky, maybe an extra half dozen donuts. And it is recyclable.
There's not a loser in the whole bunch. Really.
Jerry overcame more than one obstacle on his personal road to success. Have you ever come up with a great idea? If so, do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? It is a lifestyle filled with uncertainties, but one that is never dull. Remember, your idea doesn't have to be rocket science. Sometimes the best ideas are so simple, they're sitting right in front of us. And that is something that people never let Jerry forget.
I've heard it so many times. Why in the world didn't I think of that, Ethel?